Welcome, everybody, to the fourth episode of Unpacking Software from Chocolatey Software. On the third Thursday of each month at 4 p.m. UTC, i.e., now, we chat about the latest news and opinion on the world of software managing, focusing on packaging, software deployment, and lifecycle management. This live stream is also available as a podcast if you want to listen as opposed to watch us. We have another live stream on the first Thursday of each month called Product Spotlight. And that is where we focus on Chocolatey products, discuss releases, highlight features, and walk through tutorials and demos. To ensure you get notified of all the great content from Chocolatey Software, ensure you join our community hub on Discord, subscribe to us on YouTube, or follow us on Twitter or X, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, or Twitch. And you can find all of those links on our homepage, chocolatey.org. Just scroll all the way to the bottom, or in the description of wherever you found this content. We want to make sure we hear from you about the content we're producing. Is it what you want to hear? Do you have any ideas about what you'd like to see? What do you think of today's live stream or podcast? Have your say at ch0.co/stream survey. And I'll just pop that onto the screen as well. My name is Paul Broadwith, and I am the Technical Engineering Manager here at Chocolatey Software. I have two co-hosts with me today, so I'm joined by Stephen Valdinger and James Ruskin. Let me just bring them onto the screen. Stevie, do you want to introduce yourself first of all?
Apparently, I was on mute. I'm Stephen Valdinger. I am the Customer Solutions Manager here at Chocolatey. So if you've got a problem, me and my team have the answer, and we are more than happy to help you out with whatever you've got going on, whether that's an issue with the product or you want some help with a project that you've got. That's me and my team.
Awesome, thanks, Stevie. James, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm James Ruskin. I'm the most senior solutions engineer, also the tallest. Not that that really matters. At Chocolatey, and I work with Stevie to help make customers' dreams come true.
And how have you been making those dreams come true this week, James? What have you been up to?
Gosh, I've been. Highlight has been trying to go back into some fun scripts that add computers groups when they join CCM.
Awesome. Stevie, have you been working on anything exciting this week?
It depends on your definition of exciting. But I have been working in our documentation recently, trying to reduce some friction on a couple of areas in the docs around some of our features. Right now, I'm focusing on package synchronizer, trying to make the documentation for that a little bit clearer and give customers some good jumping off points to get started with that feature. So that's what I've been doing this week. Lots of fun.
Whose doorbell was that? It's
That
not
was
mine.
Happily,
Is that yours?
I can hear somebody going to get it. So
That's an awesome doorbell. It's very loud. It's
It
very.
is. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You're not going to miss that door. No, I'll just be. You're not going to miss your door. Okay, so normally we would start with some software news. We kind of have a little bit of a format, but we're playing around with things as we've talked about in previous streams. We have just started. This is our fourth, as I mentioned, our fourth episode of Unpacking Software. So we've started looking around. Changing things up just a little bit. Let's see how things are work a bit better. So we're going to start with Patch Tuesday. Lots of words there. We didn't do anything. Let's start with Patch Tuesday. So we're going to look at a couple of kind of four big things that have happened in the last month since we had our last live stream and / podcast. So Microsoft on Patch Tuesday, that was actually 2 days ago on the 14th. Microsoft warns of active zero-day exploitation, and it patches 60 Windows vulnerabilities. So that includes a 0-day. And there's a CVSS severity score of 7.8 out of 10 for that particular issue that we're talking about, that 0-day there. So please, if you're running all your Microsoft Windows bits and pieces, get them patched. Adobe seems to be another common vendor that patches every Patch Tuesday, which is great. But yeah, well, it would be better if nobody had to patch because everything was secure. But these things, software is never 100%, but they're patching lots of things, particularly in Adobe Reader. There's 35 security vulnerabilities across all the products, and 12 security bugs and a critical severity bug in Adobe Acrobat and Adobe Reader for Windows and Mac OS. So if you're running that, then please get that up to date as well. That's a common attack for people is PDFs that have some sort of exploitation in there that can exploit them. So yeah, get that patched as soon as you can. Apple is patching iOS and macOS. There's urgent updates in there, 16 vulnerabilities in iOS, and that includes a CVE as well that may already have been exploited in RT-Kit. So again, the security updates for macOS Sonoma, Ventura, and Monterey. So that's if you run any Apple kit. And I know a lot of Windows predominantly Windows organizations still run a lot of Mac laptops and other hardware. So yeah, maybe get that up to date and get those CVEs, those issues patched. And finally, there's an issue or several issues, 5 CVEs actually in Git. So a new version of that was released addressing those new 5 vulnerabilities. The fix release is 2.45.1. So if you don't have that installed, please get it installed as soon as possible. It affects Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and all the BSDs as well. It also affects Visual Studio and GitHub Desktop. So as you might or might not know, Visual Studio and GitHub Desktop actually embed parts of Git in there as well. So you might want to get that patched as well. The Chocolatey Community Repository package is already approved, so you can get it from there. So it's just Choco Upgrade. Is it Git? Is the package? It's just Git.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just Git. Yep.
It's just Git. Just Choco Upgrade Git, and you'll get that the latest version from a Chocolatey Community Repository. Stevie, what do you think of everything that's going on this month? There's quite a lot in there.
There's so much that went on this month, and it seems that on the Windows side, it's a little bit less than last month. I think last month we were in the 70s, I want to say. I think it was like 72, 75, something like that for patches on the Windows side. So it is refreshing to see that number come down. But it also sucks that, but again, Adobe Reader's seeing some CVs, some critical bugs, things like that. But it also makes me really, really thankful that we run Chocolatey to make these things really easy to patch moving forward, right? Like as soon as these things are released, we've got a mechanism at our disposal that we can use to protect ourselves, basically, whether that's you're listening to us at home and you're an open source user and you like Chocolatey, and that's great, or you're in an enterprise using Chocolatey. Same rules apply, right? The tools are there. Use them. Patch yourselves. I was particularly interested in the Git security bulletins that came out, and how that worked with crafting specific or being able to clone into sub modules and have malicious hooks like Git hooks run based on those scenarios. It's like, how do people think of this stuff? Every time I read some of these bug reports, it's like, I am not that clever. What do you do all evening? Just sit around and think of this stuff and play with it. I don't get it. But yeah, there are some really, really smart people that do some really, really bad things out there. So please protect yourself.
It's it takes a particular type of mind, I think, to
Yeah.
find these things in the first place. How did you go down that particular path to reach there?
Yeah. It's
James,
fascinating.
I know you had a look at the Git one in particular.
Yep, also fascinated. It's awesome use of hooks and submodules. In a terrifying way. Git actually, the chap who did the disclosure post on GitHub's blog, I think he actually called out that they'd spotted that there is a big old pattern there where submodules and hooks are getting regularly used and abused in this sort of way. So they've done a really nice post. There's a great section on defense in depth and what they've tried to do to kind of mitigate some of that going forward, which I thought was really nice to just A, see that transparency, and B, see that they're recognizing a pattern. That's cool.
I know many people that use Git as well don't particularly talk highly of submodules. So
Yeah.
I was going to joke about that, but
here's another reason why you shouldn't use them. But yeah, okay. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do, so that's kind of Patch Tuesday. We just run through that quickly. There's so much in there that, we could speak about that for at least an hour, but we need to get other topics talked about this month. So we're going to leave that there. All of the details for these and all of the details of everything we're going to be speaking about today will actually be in a blog post. So what we do is we put them in a blog post and we link to on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube later on, you'll be able to look down below and you can see the link to the blog post. And also in the podcast as well, we'll link to it in the description of there as well. So that gives you all of the things that we're going to talk about today, and that should be up and ready by tomorrow. So jumping on to just general software news, the big one for me, and I think it just came in today, although we just picked up on it today, is something we talked about. It was either last month or the month before that Broadcom have taken over, let's say, VMware, or they've merged, or whichever way you want to call it. But they also got rid of ESXi, which is a really popular product, again, that we talked about, that a lot of people cut their teeth on in order to, get more familiar with virtualization. In the early days, certainly it's a product I used many, many, many years ago, and I actually bought a license for it. You could have a licensed version. So that's how long ago that was, because I'm very old. But what they've now done is made VMware Workstation Pro free. And there's a couple of guides on how to install that. It is fairly straightforward. But the messaging seems to be a bit messed up, or at least I think is a little bit messed up. They talk about the Enterprise Standard Pro version of Workstation Pro and Fusion Pro. There's a lot of pros in there. There's a lot of words in there. I don't know what Enterprise Standard Pro is. I thought Standard would be an addition and Pro would be, but so I don't know whether that's just me. But that's free for personal use now. And then there's commercial use licenses will be on a subscription model going forward, which seems to be Broadcom's way. That's certainly what they did with when they took over VMware initially. They made all of the products or changed all of the products into a subscription-based model, which caused no end of outcry about them doing that. So they've done that now with VMware Workstation. Probably no surprise there. But yeah, so the thing that confused me a little bit is the KB article about it all was dated 14th of May, but the subscription model changed and went into effect on the 6th of May. So there was 8 days where nobody actually knew what was happening because nobody told them. The new version as well fixes a bug that was there in 4 CVEs. But guys,
I didn't see
I'm
this
going to
coming.
say, yeah,
Yeah. I didn't see
right.
it coming either.
I think we talked about the acquisition and the changes to the ESXi's licensing last time I was on here. So it wasn't that long ago, I guess, or something. But yeah, this is. I don't think this is quite a replacement for home users, which is one of the things I brought up last time. As you say, it was such a thing for people who wanted to experiment with home labs, and they sort of lost that. And I can sort of see that maybe this is the counter argument to that, but
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
I use the Mac the Fusion product, VMware Fusion, which is VMware Workstation if you're running Windows. Fusion is just the Mac equivalent of that, and I really like it. Like as a virtualization tool to help me run Windows workloads on my Mac, it's great. It's awesome. We paid for it for a long time here, and obviously, we still need to continue paying for it because of that commercial license thing. But I never bothered to run it at home because I'm cheap. I guess I don't know. There are Docker and all these other things that I could use, Proxmox as well. But now that it's free for me to use it here at the house, there are some things running in my network that I might install Workstation and switch over to running all my VMs there. Yeah, it's just another tool in your arsenal. And if you're familiar with VMware, it's a very familiar tool as well. So I kind of welcome the change. I think it's cool. I don't like the subscription model though. I'm not a fan of subscription model anything personally. Just send me an invoice and let me
Just the
pay
once.
for a year. Yeah. Let me pay once and be done with it. None of this month to month stuff. Um, I'm not super big into that, but
I suppose an upside that I hadn't actually considered is that I won't have to consider upgrading my old license for Workstation 11.
yeah.
That is, that's not something I was using at home anymore. So I guess I've got the option.
I don't know if those licenses will continue to work either. The article that again we'll link to says something about perpetual licensing. I can't remember if it was no longer being available or they were going to terminate it. I can't remember what the language was.
Yeah.
So maybe that's because the thing was with Workstation, was it not once you'd paid for it, that was it. You could get for
Yeah,
when
you could have
Workstation
it.
11.
Mhm.
Yeah, forever. I mean, it was not going to be able to support more modern operating
Right.
systems, but if you
Yeah.
were happy with what you had, you didn't have to buy the next latest and greatest version. But
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, again, if you're listening to this on podcast or you're watching us on the live stream afterwards, you can have a look at the link and dig into it a little bit more and see. But I can't remember if the language was we're terminating it or we're just not going to offer it anymore. So I'm hoping they don't terminate it. That's pretty bad. If they do
Yeah.
that. But
I
let's give
think
them
it's they're
benefit of
not
the doubt.
offering. Yeah, I think it's
Okay,
that they're not offering it anymore, if I
that would
remember
make sense.
correctly. But yeah.
But it's one of those tools as well that I mean I use Linux. It's no secret I'm using, but I also I've got Windows as well. But it's one of those products where it doesn't matter which operating system I'm using. I can still use the same VMs. You just
Mhm.
copy the files across and you can use them.
Yeah.
There's not any other product that I could find other than if you wanted to start converting your virtual machines that would actually work. That's not VirtualBox, and I don't want to use VirtualBox. So I was kind of stuck there for that.
Don't
VMware
blame you.
Workstation worked really, really well. So it's disappointing. I think it was inevitable. I think when you said you didn't see it coming, I'm assuming that was there's a /s missing off the end of that there, James.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't see
Did you not?
the making it free for home users coming. I did see the
Oh
subscription model
no.
coming. That
Yeah.
one, yeah,
Yes.
to be fair. Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
to clarify.
Yeah, I didn't see the free bit coming either. Why would they give it away for free? So yeah, that was interesting to see. But the subscription model, yeah, was I think on the cards
Yeah,
for
for sure.
Broadcom. So,
I wouldn't. If you'd asked me, I probably would have thought that they had already done that. If I'm honest. So,
yeah. So the surprise was, oh, they haven't done that yet, rather than they're
Yeah,
doing
that
it.
too.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can kind of understand why they switched it to a free model for home users. I mean, they 6x the licensing cost for VMware for some organizations, so it's not like they haven't made up the revenue.
Yeah.
And on the other things, right? Like they can afford to nix the licensing for a home user on Workstation and Fusion. And honestly, VMware probably could have done it themselves a long time ago, but didn't. So I don't know. To say I'm surprised, I was, but at the same time, I'm not because they don't need the revenue with what they did with the licensing model change when Broadcom took over.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to our next topic, where this has actually came out originally as a tweet, but there was also a Guardian article linked to it as well, and the tweet basically said Google Cloud accidentally deleted a company's entire cloud environment. So there was I think it's an organization was it Australia, I think it was,
I think so, yeah.
called UniSuper. And their fund members were unable to access their accounts for more than a week. And what happened was there was a misconfiguration. I keep doing. I'll need to do quotes misconfiguration because that's all they really talk about. We don't know more than that. And it led to the account being deleted. But not only did that account be deleted, they also had backups. I'm assuming as part of that account in another geographical region, which was also deleted as part of the account, leaving them with potentially no backups, but they did have the foresight to have backups in another provider. They don't mention who that was. I'm assuming it's maybe AWS or Azure that they had backups in, or maybe they had it locally.
Yeah. To be clear, that's the company whose data was lost had backups elsewhere, not Google.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
not Google. Yes, Google deleted everything. Everything went.
Yeah.
On the plus side, they know that deletion function really does nail it.
Yeah. So yeah, it all disappeared. But I think that highlights that if cloud is just someone else's computers, I know that just everybody has said this before. It is just someone else's computers, and you need to make sure that the backups that you have control over. Don't give the keys to your kingdom to somebody else. Make sure that you have them, whether that's a local backup or as they had another backup in another provider. I mean,
Yeah.
this is straightforward. I mean, they did have that, so that's great. I mean, and it saved them. But the fact that everything disappeared and it took more than a week to get it back was yeah, a problem. I mean, have you seen anything like this before, James?
No, but I mean, this is definitely why a lot of when you're writing stuff, a lot of stuff will end up being written to essentially just flag things as deleted for at least a while before you clean it up later. Just because reversing this sort of thing is a lot more doable when you've got it all still there. That said, I can definitely see that in a business context for data, there are probably going to be provisions in contracts and the like to say, hey, when we ask you to get rid of our data, please really, really get rid of our data. So I can see why. In this perfect storm where they have just outright deleted the account, it's gone. That's kind of what you'd hope for if you were genuinely trying to delete the account. That's it. I've not seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody's stuff get deleted like this either, but it does really, really highlight a couple of important things, right? Have a ton of guardrails around that process so that the accidents can't happen like this. Soft deletes, all that, like checks and balances, all that stuff's really important. But on the flip side of the house, having your stuff in another region is availability. It's not a backup.
Yeah, very true.
So those are two very, very different things. Having stuff, in what a US West data center and a US East data center, that's fine, because if US East goes dark, everything picks up in West, and you've got business continuity there, right? But that's not a backup. Very much not a backup. And I think this highlights the importance of having that separation of knowing, hey, another region is not a backup. A backup is another cloud provider. Another backup is putting it to tape on site. All the the 3-2-1 rule or whatever it's called. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's been highlighted by this accident that I hope people who read it take note and do an inventory of what they're doing, take an audit of their processes and their procedures, and make changes if they flag anything that needs changed. So,
and make sure those restores that you've got actually restore things. That's
right. Yeah, if your backup doesn't work, you don't have a backup.
Exactly. And you don't know if it doesn't work until everything disappears and you go and try it.
Yeah.
So maybe do it before that so that you know it actually does work. And these things sound really simple and obvious, but I mean, we've all worked in IT for a long time.
You've got three ex-sysadmins on the people are going to be.
It's important. It's important. I remember back when I was doing admin stuff, once a quarter, I would flip the switch and route everybody to my colo data center servers. I had clones of everything running over there, and I would flip the switch and see who yelled. That was a perfect test, because nobody noticed that, oh, we're not running on the boxes here in the building anymore. We're running out of the data center, and everything was fine. Once a quarter, I did it, and it worked. There were instances where it didn't work for something. It's like, oh, okay, I'm glad I can flip the switch back and put us back over here and then go figure out what went wrong. But yeah, tests are important.
Another thing to consider as well with the world of cloud that we live in, there's no point having an off-site backup if it takes you 4 days to upload that offsite backup back into the cloud again. You know,
Yeah.
you need to think about it, and it's not obvious until you get that hard drive. So there used to be services that you could, you would ship the hard drives off, or they would actually do it for you and then ship you a hard drive to do the restore. And that's great. But if you can't get that data back into the cloud quickly enough, you've still got all that downtime. So make sure that, whichever format you've got for your restores, you're going to be able to restore it in a reasonable amount of time. And the business has to accept that it's going to be down for 4 days or 2 days or 1 day. And whatever the business accepts will be an acceptable downtime is the period you've got to get that back up and restored in. So if it is 4 days, you're cool. You've got that hard drive or multiple hard drives or racks of hard drives to do that. But if it's, no, we can only be down for 6 hours, then you need to, that's an entirely different solution that you're looking at. So it's important to understand what the business requirements are as well.
Yeah.
But yes, James said, free sysadmins on the call. So it's, yeah, on the call, on the live stream. Sorry, James, you were saying something as I interrupted.
Oh, no, I was just getting flashbacks to, trying to submit return to operation estimates to leaders and thinking, I hope they like this.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm in trouble.
Yeah. It's a business decision at the end of the day rather than an operational decision, I think.
Yeah. It's extremely stressful to go through a lights out event like that. And it's extremely easy to get accounting to open the checkbook immediately after it. It's like, hey guys, this just cost us $750,000. It would have only costed me 30 to prevent it.
Pound of prevention.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a pretty easy justification case to make these things right.
Yeah.
But hopefully you do that up front and you don't have to survive the lights out event to
a lot of sympathy to both sides of
right.
the
Oh
equation,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What's the, I mean, there's so many what's the phrase? Proverbs? Not quite that. But the thing where essentially, an IT manager is talking to his buddy at the pub or whatever. I swear this isn't the B joke. He says, I've just had a critical outage. Somebody pressed a button and fried a rack of servers, and everything went down for a while. It was bad. The buddy says, well, did you fire the guy? He says, no, that was the most expensive training operation I've had, but he is now covered for a bit. Sorry.
Yeah. Again, maybe we should just have a stream of the B joke. People, if you've ever heard James on before,
charity 24-hour stream, I'm here for it.
That's you could. Well, you said you've stretched out. What's the longest you've ever stretched the B joke out for?
About 35 minutes.
See, that's this is only a 60-minute top stream. We could, Anyway, we're going off track. It's maybe I don't know. Maybe I suggest maybe do that as a Christmas one. There you go.
Maybe like a surprise stream.
Really
it'd be fun.
Yeah, we'll get a little Santa hat for Gerald and make him the logo and the Gerald is the bee in case anybody. We're going off completely off track now. So let's just swiftly
moving on.
So the important bit of that is if you've got backups, test them and to make sure that your backup is able to restore in the time it's acceptable to the business. So HashiCorp, we've talked. I think we spoke about this again on previous Unpacking Software streams / podcast. But they now join IBM. I didn't see IBM coming, but I saw that they were looking for someone to buy the business, and that my view was because that's why they changed the license to make the company more valuable. But yeah, they've now been taken over by IBM, or they've merged with IBM. I don't know. It's an acquisition. I don't know what does that mean they've merged or they've been taken over? Whatever. But this was at the end of April, so it was a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the 24th.
Yeah.
The acquisition is for $6.4 billion. So the founders of HashiCorp are in for a nice payday. And also, I'd imagine some of the staff that have stocks in the organisation, so that will be nice for all of them. If you use HashiCorp tools, such as Vagrant or Terraform, the future is probably a little bit uncertain. I know when they changed the license to BSL, which is the business source license for Terraform, there was an open. Is it Open Terraform? It's called that somewhere that was forked and that was created.
What the heck is it called?
I think it was.
It's not. It's
So
like
it's
Open Tofu or something like that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. They dropped the Terraform name
Yeah, that's
when they
Tofu's
forked
ringing a
it.
bell.
Yeah. I think
Um,
it's Open Tofu.
Yeah, Corey's confirmed that.
Corey
okay.
confirmed it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's already been forked. That was before IBM had acquired HashiCorp. So it's a little bit uncertain. I mean, in some research for this particular topic, there was a lot of forum posts, particularly on Reddit, and comments and articles that people were saying they're now looking at alternative tools because the future's uncertain. IBM has a track record of monetizing their acquisitions quite heavily, and maybe the open source aspect of it has uncertain futures, but they said in the statement that they're still deeply invested in the community, but that's obviously corporate speak, so I'm not sure where that comes from. But yeah,
I was going to directly compare, I was about to say, and it comes so soon after the acquisition of Red Hat, which is something
I was
else
going to
that's
just bring
heavily
up
open source
yeah.
and community driven and so on, and then you can kind of look back at that and draw conclusions
Yeah.
as you want.
CentOS,
Then I
anybody?
looked it up, and it
CentOS?
turns out it was in 2019. So goodness me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
What happened the last
34
few years?
billion dollars they bought Red Hat for. That's not pocket change.
I'm
So
still salty about the CentOS thing.
yeah, I think a lot of people are
I really am.
about that. That caused a lot of problems. And again, the open source community has to react to these things. So we had Rocky was created off the back of that, and there was another one as well. Was it Alma? Was it
Alpine.
no, it wasn't Alpine. It was
No. Yeah, you're right.
Alma
You're
or
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, that was
Yeah, it
created
was an
as well.
Alpine. Mhm.
So yeah, the open source community has to constantly pivot, and I know I'm doing that. I look like a robot, little box, big box, that one. But yeah, the open source community constantly has to pivot to get the functionality they need out of these products when they keep being chopped and changed by the original vendors. I mean,
Yeah.
we use Vagrant quite a lot. We don't use Terraform at all internally.
No.
But it's no secret that we use Vagrant. We use that in demos. Everybody's kind of seen that. But yeah, there is no really alternative product to Vagrant, James, is there? Just as you cough.
I mean, yeah, just
well,
sorry.
there is. Hashi's
why are we
got
not using it?
Packer. I mean,
yeah, it depends on what you're looking to use it for, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Packer can do what Vagrant can do in a sense, but having used Packer to do some stuff in the past, I'm not a huge fan. But I also didn't use it when they switched to their HCL markup language, so maybe it's easier to use it with HCL than it was with the JSON stuff. But yeah, you could conceivably use Packer to do everything that you would probably want to do with Vagrant.
I haven't tried that, I guess, or not for some of the things I can think of, but yeah, worth a look.
Yeah.
I'll happily explore the idea.
Yeah, when I heard the news, I was interested to see what they're going to do, particularly with Ansible and Vault, HashiCorp Vault, if they're going to do anything to marry those two things together, because Ansible's got a Vault, but are they going to marry HashiVault with Ansible Vault and like do something like pick the best of both and make one new thing? Is it going to be, hey, we're adding support directly in Ansible for HashiVault? It's like, what are they going to do with that? It's kind of interesting. What might come out of that?
Yeah, lots of products to potentially synergize.
Yeah. I mean, they're not dumb by any means. IBM is not stupid for acquiring HashiCorp. It makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of intertwining of the technologies that they can do and bring closer to Red Hat and things like that. So it'll definitely be interesting. I know we've all got friends that work at both places, Red Hat and Hashi. So it'll be interesting to, as things move forward, hear some of the insider conversations as to what's going on.
Apologies, I couldn't find the unmute button.
No worries.
So that was great. Yeah, so it's disappointing. I understand that organizations, that part of it is that you generate money for particularly the investors. I think HashiCorp generated money from VC investors. Don't quote me on that, but I think that their purpose was to generate money. And this is one way that they've done it. And so, from a business point of view, they've done exactly what they should have done. But from an open source point of view, which isn't obviously their primary concern. Their primary concern is their business. It is a little disappointing that it's gone to an organisation that they do some great things, IBM, but they seem to be for a much more larger enterprise type audience as opposed to small businesses and open source community. I know they have Red Hat, which is the kind of epitome, I suppose, originally of open source, but I think a lot of people would argue that certainly has changed. So we'll just see what the future holds. I hope that everybody who wants to continue using those tools is able to do so, or they can fork the tools and are able to keep these tools going. Vagrant, I think, in particular, seems to languish for quite a while. Just looking at their repositories and the kind of response you get from the developers, I don't think it's been a focus of HashiCorp for a while. That's just my opinion from what I've seen. So hopefully, maybe people can pick that up and continue moving it forward. James, were you going to say something? Jump in there? No?
Nope. Sorry.
No? Okay, sorry. I thought I heard someone say something. Okay, so we'll move on. So we're about halfway through. So we're going to look at something that Chocolatey provides. One of the Chocolatey software products is Chocolatey CLI, and that's the package manager for Windows. And we're particularly interested in the package management space. We're particularly interested in the Windows package management space, obviously, but we're also interested in how, from the open source perspective, how a lot of the Linux package managers and other package managers for other operating systems kind of work in terms of the policies that they have and how they go about things. So we've got something here, and we've talked about it in the last couple of episodes as well, where there's been AI generated content in Gentoo's package ecosystem. There was it Package X, PKG X, I think, that was using AI generated descriptions for packages as well. And that was getting kind of frowned upon. There was people unhappy about that. I totally understand why they did that, and they did have a good explanation for it, but it did upset some people. But now we've got, so that Gentoo has banned AI created contributions for code documentation due to what they said is copyright, ethical, and quality concerns. So they've applied that policy to code documentation, bug reports, forum posts, all the kind of things where you interact with Gentoos. They banned all of that. They don't want that kind of content in there. But the similar proposal has been made to Debian. Now, again, we could all argue who's the biggest package manager, who's the biggest Linux flavor. I think a lot of Linux flavors or Linux operating systems or whatever you want to call it come from a Debian base. So having that similar proposal for the Debian project is quite a big thing. And that kind of proposal was made. I'm making some quotes here. One concern was the copyright laundering that commercial AI engages in that abuse free software. That's direct quotes from all of those. That's not my opinion. But I think it's going to be increasingly difficult to tell AI content apart from human content when a human maintainer creates a package, creates a description, creates code, creates forum posts, bug reports, and an AI does. And at the moment, they're kind of saying that the AI content seems to be low quality garbage. Again, a direct quote. But I think that very much will change. I mean, so this is really about package management and AI/machine learning tools. James, what do you make of all this that's going on just now and all of it?
I mean, From where to start? I self-represent as grumpy about AI, so that's generally my position. So I do apologize. I'll try not to be too grumpy here. But yeah, I think it makes sense. Like to me, anyway. When I've tried novel solutions, particularly, and in fact, stuff related to work, related to packages, trying to generate stuff for installers. If you don't have a really simple, previously discussed on the internet sort of installer, it's not going to have any idea what to do with that. It's not magic. There's no black magic behind the scenes that's saying, "Oh, hey, I know about the silent arguments for this installer." There's no analysis happening there. It's literally, have I seen something like that before? So I can totally see why folk would be against that sort of thing from the lower quality side of things. Obviously, in the open source community, you'll find a lot higher percentage of people, I'd say, that care about stuff like attribution and the right to own your own content, that sort of thing. And so I think there's, just even looking at the reactions to, just to completely branch off into a similar sort of thing, the reactions to Stack Overflow's recent announcement around the partnership with OpenAI. There's a lot of arguments there that say, hey, actually, you're saying you're going to attribute everything correctly, but there's currently no models that do that. So, what's your reasonably short-term plan there? Anyway, sorry, Stevie, have you got any opinions? Because I'm going to stop myself before I just keep going for a while, before the shepherd's crook comes on screen.
So I've had a play of making a chocolatey package with ChatGPT, and it was laughably wrong. Like, not even in the realm of correct when it gave me back the results. And I asked it, hey, create me a chocolatey package for, I think I used 7-zip, and here's a URL for it. And it was just wrong. Completely wrong. So I would find it incredibly frustrating as somebody coming in new to this stuff and wanting to leverage AI to do that work, to put in the effort to generate a prompt, have ChatGPT give me some code, and then go off and try it and just fail.
Yeah.
And then have to go back and do this over and over and over again. It would have been way faster to just go to docs.chocolatey.org, go down to the package creation guides, and walk through one of the templates that we have there for, this is how you do a zip package, this is how you do an MSI package, this is how you do an install, whatever. All the information is there. So I don't like AI for that reason. We're still so far off from it being like dead on when it gives you something. It can get you 80% of the way there in some cases, but that remaining 20% can be an incredible amount of work, because you got to understand the 80%. You still have to have the understanding of what it gave you so that you can get over the line of that 20%. But
And if you're
go for it. Yeah. No.
And if you're contributing it and trying to, we've seen at least one PR, I think, where somebody did just submit some stuff and they said, sorry, it wasn't a PR, it was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And they put in the issue, oh, hey, and by the way, I asked ChatGPT what we should do for this, or something along these lines. And yeah, the code wasn't great. So if you don't know enough to be evaluating that code, I mean, it's the classic thing where, read all the code you try and, understand the code you're about to run, wherever you get it from.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, then...
Yeah. I will say that it is getting a little bit better at
100%.
explaining what the code is doing when it gives it back to you in chunks. Like, I forget what I was doing. I was playing around with something, and I was doing, I think it was a React something or other, and I know nothing about nothing when it comes to JavaScript and React or any of that. So I was just like, give me this. Okay. give me this. Okay. And it did kind of explain what it was doing. It still didn't work. So I would say why it didn't work. And it would be like, oh, okay, that's probably this. And it would suggest changes to the code. I never got it to work. Like, it never got me code that worked. And I didn't know anything about the code really that it was giving me. So it was functionally a waste of an hour and a half of my time. Thankfully, it wasn't like anything important. I was just messing around. But yeah, I can't afford to have 90 minutes of my day wasted like that. That would frustrate me to no end if that was the case.
As you said, it is improving.
Yeah, the latest model is pretty neat. Like the GTP, what is it, 4.0 or 0 or whatever they call it? It just came out like yesterday or the day before. That model is quite a leap to even what GPT-4 was. So yeah, it's moving along, but
I can't see any world where an LLM on its own can solve a novel problem around something it doesn't understand, and it doesn't understand, strictly speaking, anything.
Yeah.
I'm grumpy there, so sorry. Please take everything I say with a huge heaping tablespoon of something. Sugar. Maybe. Sugar's the appropriate one.
What's the saying? Teaching sand to think was a mistake. Like,
I think that was something we mentioned the last time as well. That some people think it's a misnomer to say it's artificial intelligence. It's not. It's just a language model. It takes the input it's been given and makes informed, I suppose, decisions based upon the questions you're asking it. Okay, maybe informs the wrong word, but educated guesses based on the amount of information that has. Obviously, it's it does it. I'm doing it a little bit of an injustice, but I think maybe effectively that's what it is doing. And it's only as good as its inputs. So there's been all sorts of articles where AI has got things a little bit either wrong, or it's a little bit racist or misogynist, it's based on the information it's been provided with. So if it's been given that kind of information, obviously the output is going to be that. What is it? Rubbish in, rubbish out. That's the kind of thought on there. So yeah, that someone says, Corey says in the chat, it's designed to give you the answer that it thinks you want. I'm just going to pop that on screen, actually. Apologies for
Corey, I take issue with the word thinks.
It's designed to give you the answer that thinks you want, not necessarily the correct answer. So I think that's probably a good overall for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hopefully we've not seen. I mean, James, you mentioned that someone had put that in an issue that they'd asked Chat GPT. I can't even say it. Maybe we should get AI just to do this. But I haven't seen any packages come through that has that kind of description of content. Have you seen any, James?
I think I did start moderating one that I was pretty sure did come from it. It obviously it wasn't attributed in any way, shape, or form, but the code didn't work. It seemed clear that it hadn't actually been run, and I think I said a few stern words.
I think it would be really, really interesting if we tried to train our own model against the community packages thing, stop. And then use that to build a package. Like, the code's out there on GitHub.
It is.
Let's have it ingest it and then see if it builds a package the right way. Because today it doesn't. It doesn't.
My problem is you're almost certainly going to get something along the lines of, we're getting way too much into the weeds here, so I apologize. Install Chocolatey package, package type exe, arguments qn, and that's what you're going to get because of the every MSI being, hey, just do this quietly. And anyway, I'm sorry. I realized after I cornered some people in a bar at a birthday party and ranted at them for a little while about AI that I was grumpy. So I'm trying to keep it down here. I'm really sorry if
I think
it'd be interesting.
Wrap this. Lots of things are interesting, Stevie. Doesn't mean you have to do them.
Oh, I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying it would be interesting if we tried.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
hearing
about
there's a request for me to do something tomorrow, and it came from my boss. This is good.
it's like you can mount a sniper rifle on a robotic dog. You shouldn't do that.
Shouldn't
Okay,
do
so
that.
Now we
Yeah.
haven't
you
got
shouldn't
that
do
link
that.
in this.
Well,
link
We
for
the
haven't.
problem
No,
is
but there
somebody
is.
did.
They did. They did.
The problem is they
Um,
did.
there is a YouTube video, and
Yeah.
there's a sniper rifle on a robotic dog. Let's just leave
Yeah.
that there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Insert Jeff Goldblum quote about scientists and whether we should, I don't think we should. Just let's not arm the robots. But anyway, let's move on because we're not here to talk about robots. What are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about some security news is what we're going to go into. Now, we've only got 10 minutes left, so we're going to kind of wrap this up kind of quick. But there's two interesting things that have come out recently. I'm going to pick the one that I think is probably the quickest to talk about first. And that's there's an attack that makes autonomous vehicle tech ignore road signs. Now, nobody ever saw this coming. Let's put computers into cars and they won't get hacked and things will crash. I don't know why we never seen this one coming, but apparently we never seen this one coming. So apparently it's called Ghost Stripe. Sorry, Stevie.
This reminds me of the movie I, Robot so much when I read this one.
I can't even see.
There's at least one scene where there's a...
Is there?
There's a scene where they're driving in the tunnel and the cars are all autonomous. They're like super fast. There's a ton of them around, and Will Smith's character is in control of the steering wheel, and the lady that's riding with him is freaking out because nobody drives the cars anymore. You don't do that. The car drives itself. And yeah, I'm with Will Smith's character on this one. That I'll drive the car, thanks.
I mean, the cars do drive themselves unless they've been attacked by Ghost Stripe. See, by the way, I brought that back in professionally.
Yeah.
So apparently, it's just what they do is they shine some light onto. I mean, I'm very much simplifying this. Shine some light onto the road signs. The image processing system in the computer in the car can't process the road sign, therefore doesn't know what to do, or doesn't know that the road sign is telling it to do something, and therefore it's an attack from that. I mean, that seems quite simplistic. It's quite complicated if you kind of read the article. But yeah, I just genuinely never saw us hacking cars. Who'd have thought that would have went on? So yeah, James, do you own an autonomous vehicle?
I do not, sadly.
Tractor?
Also, no tractors. Sorry.
Grass
I was going to.
Sorry.
No, although I actually did see a robotic grass cutter just this weekend. It didn't attack me, so I think I came off well.
Okay, so it wasn't autonomous then.
Are you saying that all
right.
autonomous grass cutters will be attacking me at some point?
Yes, they're evil. They're evil. They are.
Never going back to the country.
Stevie, have you seen an evil autonomous grass cutter before?
The Husqvarna dealership up the road actually has one that's always cutting the front grass. Always. There's a robotic lawnmower out front. It's never once been malicious, to my knowledge, but every time I've driven past it, that little thing is out there just chugging right along, cutting the grass. It's great marketing.
I will say the stripes that GPS enabled lawnmower, I can't believe that's a sentence, did were way better than the ones I used to do. So
they'd have been straighter probably. The
GPS
way. Yeah.
They're still really expensive. They're way expensive.
But you can mount a sniper rifle on them as well. So
you could.
There is that.
Could.
There is
that. I don't condone that. I don't recommend that.
Today.
Yeah. How did we get?
I don't know. Sniper rifles on autonomous grass cutter. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think the thing there is really. I know we're having a bit of a laugh, and the thing there really is that cars or vehicles these days are really just computers.
They
And
are.
computers are susceptible to bugs in software. They're susceptible to malware, like this attack here. I mean, this is a simple attack, or as I said, it's relatively simple on the surface. It's quite complicated when you get into it, but effectively, it's taken defeating the computer using its own image processing and its own LEDs, actually, which is what it's using to shine the light on the road sign. And this is, I mean, this is not going to be that dangerous, I wouldn't imagine. You can't see the road sign, it's not going to do anything. But I think, this is the start of it. There are a lot of other exploits if you go and look for them, but this is just going to get worse and worse and worse, where you're going to have to start patching your car, maybe have antivirus for your car, maybe, I know it sounds ridiculous to say that now, but, we're in
They already
2024.
do.
By 2020, do they? I didn't know they had antivirus for
Yeah,
cars, but
well, they don't have the
VPNs?
antivirus, but the over-the-air patching stuff happens. Like my
Yeah.
mother-in-law's Subaru gets over-the-air patches.
Hmm.
It's weird as all get out, but yeah, that's how
To
it
be
works.
fair, I did get a letter just yesterday, which insisted that my 19-year-old car was being recalled for safety reasons. Turns out they just want me to take it in to patch the airbag, but still interesting. Definitely, it happened before. Just putting that out there. I don't disagree.
Is it dangerous because it's 19 years old?
It's
Is that
got
why?
more in common with a Claymore mine, apparently. Something along those lines. If triggered,
Okay.
might go horribly
If
wrong. Probably don't want to test it.
that doesn't sound good, James, I would maybe take that in.
It's in
Yeah,
last
you
year.
might want to do
Very
that
carefully. And
one.
slowly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Anyway, going to address that. Don't worry.
yeah. Let's not worry our audience. By the way, your airbag's a Claymore mine. That's I can see that not going well. I can see that backfiring. No pun intended. So the other issue we're going to look at in security news today is there's been an actual, I don't want to call this an exploit, but let me just read it out. There's been something found that negates all VPNs that may have been possible. And it may have been possible to do so since 2002. I'm just going to turn it over to you guys rather than me talk about it because I've talked enough. Have you dug into this at all, James or Stevie, to look at it a bit more?
Only on a surface level.
Yeah, that's all I've done too. I've just looked at it on the surface. I haven't really gone into the weeds about it.
I think it makes perfect sense. It seems essentially like the thing I do every time I misconfigure my VPN and mess up my routes. To be honest, so yeah, it's a little scary, but it's not unexpected, I guess. Except I guess it is because theoretically, if people can make this happen on demand, then yeah, that's not great. If it's fine when it's me doing it accidentally to myself, but
yeah, there was also that recent security thing with what's that Linux utility like XD or XL or something that starts with an X that's been around. Like this bug has been around forever, and they found a vulnerability or something. Like it was kind of interesting as well.
I think this one interested me because it doesn't exploit VPNs. It really just routes the traffic away from the encrypted VPN interface that VPN software creates. So when you stand up a VPN, it usually creates a VPN interface that communicates with the VPN server on the other end. But if you can route the traffic to another interface, so it never actually hits the VPN encrypted, the VPN interface that encrypts the traffic, then you're actually been able to get the traffic that people think are going through the VPN, but in an unencrypted format. That just seemed really simple. Is that not right, James?
well, sorry. The only thing I'll mention there is that obviously, depending on the traffic we're talking about, you're still going to be benefiting from every other bit of encryption that's happening with the traffic. So if you're using TLS or HTTPS or whatever, then
SSL
your
and
stuff is still being encrypted. I guess the main thing here is that theoretically, if you are in an environment where somebody can sniff your network traffic, and you're trying to hide that from them, e.g., by using a VPN, insert segue to our sponsor here, then potentially people would be able to see, DNS calls, what you're accessing, all this sort of thing. But they won't be able to get to your banking details, for example, unless your bank, for whatever silly reason, is using HTTP and not going any further than that. So, it is a concern, but it's I've never particularly agreed with the idea that you should hide what you're doing. Sorry, that you should be worried about hiding what you're doing from your ISP, for example. Whereas some people will use VPNs to get all the calls happening on somebody else's box, and then you just have to worry about them. So
Yeah.
you're worrying about somebody at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you're right, but what they will find out, for example, they're not going to find out your banking details or the amount of money you've got or any of those kind of things, but they're going to find out who your bank is.
Yep, absolutely.
So that, again, it's that little bit of additional information.
Yep.
And you also mentioned that maybe you shouldn't be hiding, or not maybe, but not hiding information from your ISP, but your ISP is collecting data on what you're doing, so that they are to potentially. So I mean, we could go on,
Potentially
we
is the
can
big word
argue
there.
about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I do know that my ISP does do it.
Fair.
Well, according to what I've read, but we could talk about talk about that for an entire episode.
Yeah, and I think
maybe
guess
more than one.
thing,
Yeah.
The thing I think I personally would take from this is if I was relying on a VPN to keep me secure on public Wi-Fi, for example, which is a situation where I might worry more about, hey, actually, can other people see my traffic? Is there somebody potentially doing something here? Have I connected to a rogue Wi-Fi hotspot? And as ever, as with reading your code, checking what you're downloading, not cloning random Git repositories, which was one of the takeaways from the Git stuff earlier, for what it's worth. Just not connecting to random Wi-Fi hotspots, or not trusting the people you're sending your data through is to me a good one.
Good operational security.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's fair.
Yeah, I think that's gets you out of most things. So there was another couple of just three other things. There's a Dell API exploitation that's led to a breach affecting 49 million customers. So if you have a Dell account or you're a Dell customer, that might be of interest to you. Maybe go and speak to Dell. We'll have that in the description where you find this content. There's another one where a site is claimed to have harvested 4 billion Discord chats and put them all up for sale. I don't know what's in there and why it would be particularly of interest, but maybe there's private chats in there or DMs in there, etc. Do you know more about this, James?
Sure. I mean, I can't remember the name of the company, I'm afraid. But yeah, they were offering a bunch of basically servers where they'd had a bot join the server. So anything that was potentially private could have been exposed. That said, I think they've now been shut down, or rather restricted access from Discord. But of course, they could just do it all again with a different thing. Maybe Discord is beefing up their policies around this. But yeah, not for example, private one-to-one chats. That's not something where they would have access, just to limit the scope on it a little bit.
Okay. Again, the article will be in the description, and you can dig into that. And I think the final one today is the end is nigh for Windows 10 21H2. My understanding was that had actually expired already, but that's not the case. So if you're running that, you'll need to patch it shortly. So again, the link will be in the description, and you can check that out. Finally, we want to just pick up on one of the events that's coming up. Myself and James will be at PowerShell Conference Europe. That takes place in Antwerp in Belgium on between 24th and the 27th of June. So stop by for giveaways and to chat with myself and James. There you go. James has got the t-shirt on. I've got a chocolate t-shirt on, so that's not going to work.
Rare non-chocolatey t-shirt. I thought it was worth it for today if we were going to mention it.
We should have coordinated. That would
I should have put on 2 t-shirts, ripped the top one off, and then had the PSConf one underneath.
Like Superman.
Yes.
Yeah. Could have a background of a phone box as well.
Okay, I'll look at animations for next time.
Yeah. So you can find all the information for that at psconf.eu. Again, link will be in the description for that. So we're a few minutes over time. So we're going to look at kind of wrapping up now. James, Steve, is there anything that you want to kind of pick up on before we finish?
I don't think so. No.
Cool. Okay.
Just thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah.
Nothing from me. Have great days, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. So, guys, thank you for joining me today. So we're in the early days with this live stream, so please let us know what you think about this and all the content we're producing. We really appreciate it. Have your say and I'm going to do this like a professional and pop this onto the screen as I say it. have your say on the link on the screen. If you're on a podcast, it's ch0.co/stream survey. Again, the details will be in the description. And there you can tell us what you want to see, what you want to hear. Is it the right format, the right length? Are we talking about sniper rifles on robotic dogs far too much? That kind of thing. Tell us what you want to hear. We like to have a laugh on here as well. So, but to ensure you're notified of all this great content from Chocolatey Software, ensure you join our community hub on Discord, subscribe to us on YouTube, or follow us on Twitter or X, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Twitch. We're on all the things. You can find all those links on our homepage, chocolatey.org. Scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll find them there, or you'll find it in the description of wherever you found this content. Join our next live stream on Twitch or YouTube on Thursday, the 6th of June, where we will be looking at the recent release of Chocolatey GUI and the upcoming releases of Chocolatey CLI and Central Management. They won't be upcoming releases on the actual live stream because they'll have been released by that point, but they're upcoming releases as of now. But anyway, we hope to see you there. Thank you for your time today, even. I can't speak. Take care and bye-bye.